Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this week's edition of LinkedIn Lunchbreak, Growing New Markets and the Future of Cannabis Business. I am Guillermo Bravo. I'm the Chief Evangelist at MediaJel. We're a laser-focused cannabis dispensary advertising and marketing agency focused on compliant, scalable digital strategies designed to increase foot traffic and boost e-commerce sales. Today, we're joined by George Jage. George is the co-founder and CEO of Jage Media, Jage Media's national and cannabis CPG trade show, MJ Unpacked. George is widely revered as a B2B growth specialist and business builder with a proven track record of identifying new markets and opportunities to scale national businesses. It's great to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Guillermo, and I look good on paper, so thanks for the nice introduction.
Yeah, no problem. And you're a cannabis industry veteran and have had a hand in building and scaling some of the biggest companies we have in the cannabis space today, including, Marijuana Business Daily, Dope Media, and now Jage Media. Yeah. It's an honor to have you with us.
Oh, thank you again.
Yeah. As you know, the cannabis industry is growing fast, and there are many of us who know your name, but for the newcomers out there, why don't we talk about your history first? Can you tell us a little bit about your career in cannabis and what attracted you to the cannabis space?
Well, I kind of feel like it was an opportunity to kind of bring all of my skill sets full circle, from having my herbal distribution business back when I was in high school and college. I've been in the trade show space for close to 30 years. I got in the cannabis space in 2014 when I was asked to step in as the president of MMJ Business Daily. With one full-time employee, Chris Walsh, who's now the CEO, a good friend. And, I've always kind of had this kind of affinity, whether it was by circumstance or intent, to really operate in a lot of early market, early stage growth spaces where, trade events can be very powerful resources for that industry, whether it's an order writing show like the Off-Price show that I used to run, World Tea Expo, which provided a lot of education to kind of help build the retail market and really grow the specialty tea category in the United States. And certainly, I think cannabis had, really appealed to me for a lot of reasons. What was really interesting about that is when I was in the exiting the tea industry and I'd sold that business, a friend of mine wrote a book, and I found out that tea was discovered by the same guy that discovered cannabis, Emperor Shen Yong, about 5,000 years ago. So in some ways, I'm still working for the same guy.
I didn't know that. Fun fact, right?
Yep.
You clearly have a keen eye and ability to pinpoint where the cannabis industry needs support, and then successfully filling those gaps with a variety of different companies and conventions over the years. Can you give us a little insight into your core values as an entrepreneur, and has this changed over the years as the cannabis industry has evolved?
Sure. I think from a core value standpoint, the reason I love trade shows is it does have a very exponential effect on helping companies out. When you're creating a successful return on investment for somebody to exhibit their product and can help create jobs and help families, that you'll never meet and never get to know. But, that really the core value really comes down to, making sure that you are providing a product that delivers value, and that return on investment and return on objectives and that return on experience for the people participating. That's really what drives us, is that we want to be of service first and foremost. And from there, you get an opportunity to create a really successful business. But you can't put the cart in front of the horse and expect that, you're going to go out and overpromise people and underdeliver and expect to be able to have them come back as return customers. That's certainly the main thing, is that we don't ever want to overpromise. We always want to overdeliver. And that's created a lot of success for us over the years.
Yeah, that's the same values that we follow, and we're, pretty much, sticking with the return on ad spend for any e-commerce sales or in-store walk-ins, and that's pretty much been the whole formula for a business.
Sure.
Especially supporting retailers.
Yeah, and certainly in the early stages of the cannabis market, that's always been a challenge because of the restrictions around advertising in our space. Companies, have a hard time measuring what that return on investment is for an ad spend, and an ad spend might be an exhibit booth, it might be a sponsorship at an event, it might be a digital ad. or a print ad, but how do you quantify that? And in the early days of our industry, I don't think that there was a ton of overly sophisticated marketers that came in. A lot of them were people that kind of stepped into the space because of the passion around the plant. And as our industries evolve, we know that a lot of people from other industries have started to step in, and you're seeing top level senior marketing officials from major Fortune 500 companies coming in, and they soon start scratching their head, going, well, how can you operate your business not having this data to drive your decision? So I think you guys offer a great service to people.
Oh, thank you, and that's right in line with you. Really love the events that you put on to date, and I've been to, I don't know, like 4 MJ BizCons at this point, so excited to join you in MJ Impact.
Well, this is my opus. I've been doing this for 30 years, and what we're doing is really creating something completely different. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it's important to look at what creates value for people at an event. And one of the fundamental kind of core values that we want to design around this is that people do business with people, right? They're not doing business with companies. And a lot of times trade shows end up being, you're walking down aisle after aisle of a lot of repetitive products, and you're scanning, you're handing out business cards, you're getting your badge scanned, and that can create lead generation. But then, you leave the show floor, you rush back to your hotel, take a shower, go to dinner, go to a party. Like, you're not following up on those leads that quick. It's next week, and then you get back to your office and you got all these emails. So, unfortunately, in the trade show industry, a lot of times 80%, they say about 80% of trade show leads are not even followed up on, which is terrible, right? Like, we're providing somebody a value, and if they completely don't follow through and execute on that, it's diminished the value of the product that I'm selling. Although I did my part, right? They just didn't finish it. But for what we're creating at MJ Impact is really focusing on what drives transactional value. Transactional value is really created by giving people an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation, understanding each other's objectives. And that is also a function of having the right people in the room. And unfortunately, one or two other small state-focused shows, do this, but no national shows actually qualify their attendees coming to the show. Our show is exclusively for cannabis brand and retail executives with a title and manager hire. And we know that they need access to capital, so we're allowing in investors that are actively investing in cannabis. And by doing that, you can come to our event, and 4 out of the 5 people that you meet are somebody that you're going to want to have a conversation with, as opposed to 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 at some of these big national shows.
Yeah, you don't have to sift through the weeds to get to the right point of contact.
No pun intended, right?
No, not at all.
It's impossible not to walk into a pun in the cannabis industry, I think.
Pretty much. I always get stuck in that one.
Yeah.
For all the cannabis entrepreneurs out there listening, we know that the entrepreneurial road can be, bumpy, with great highs and lows. Can you tell us about your greatest career high and about a challenging point in your career as well?
There's, I honestly, I truly, like, right now, it would probably be my high, like the excitement around creating an event and the reception that we've gotten from the people in the industry about how excited they are for something different. So I'm super stoked about this. And again, we're really pulling out all the stops as far as the event experience that we're creating. I've been very fortunate. And again, it's not necessarily the financial reward of creating a successful business, but we used to run this global tea championship at World Tea Expo. My wife Kim, who's my business partner, created it, and people would send us the best teas and money, and we'd bring in these judges and evaluate all these teas. And these are people that have been tasting tea for 30 years, and it's kind of a pretty intense process. But one year, after the competition, a friend of ours who's actually now in the cannabis industry sent us a letter that somebody sent him, and it was a small farm in Assam, which is in the northeast part of India. It's a fairly violent part of the world, and this son had pleaded with his father to keep their family farm that had been in their family for generations, and his father was like, "No, we're not making any money. We're going to go take factory jobs." And his son begged him to stay and, give it one more year. And so the tea that they submitted won, And that
Wow.
that family was able to get like 7-8 times the price for their tea that year because of the competition that we ran in some small little office in Las Vegas at the time. And when you hear about that, like, I'm never going to meet this guy, but like knowing that we had that profound of effect on somebody's dinner table for their family that night, to me was one of the most rewarding things that I've done in the cannabis or in the tea industry. But knowing that you're having this exponential influence on creating wealth and happiness and success for other people is really what wakes me up in the morning and gets me excited, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's powerful. Really, allowing that partner of yours to carry on the family business. I mean, there's nothing better than that. What inspires you and keeps you energized as a B2B leader?
It's really just helping people and meeting new people and hearing these amazing stories of companies that have these huge aspirations to be the next Seagrams or I say that a little, Jess. Like you've heard it too. Like I've heard plenty of people. I'm going to be the Walmart of cannabis. Listen, Walmart will be the Walmart of cannabis when Walmart wants to be the Walmart of cannabis. Budweiser. Listen, Pabst Blue Ribbon is going to be the Pabst Blue Ribbon of cannabis. We all know that. But it's in the early stages of the market when you have so much innovation, so much enthusiasm. Yes, there's going to be a lot of failures, but you get an opportunity to learn from those and see the passion in people's eyes that are really engaged in this industry. And tea was a really healthy beverage. It was good for people to drink tea as opposed to some other beverages. But cannabis's ability to create brand around something that has a psychotropic effect on you is a fascinating experience to watch happen, right? And to see that we could transform some of our cultural norms around alcohol and translate that into cannabis that significantly reduces the physiological and societal harm, and hopefully reparate the societal harm that we've created around the war on drugs. Like all of these things, like I just get excited about it, that to see change in the world around us.
Yeah, and we're seeing it firsthand, right? We're living through our version of the prohibition, so get to see everything unfold. And you certainly have a proven track record of identifying new markets and opportunities to scale cannabis businesses. I'm interested to know where do you think the cannabis industry is headed once deregulation occurs?
Sure. Well, I was gonna interrupt there. I said nobody's told me that they want to be the Al Capone of cannabis yet, so that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to follow that that name.
Well, what is deregulation, right? And and I've been having a lot of calls with investors that are going to be participating in our show. And I think that there's a number of events that are going to happen that are going to significantly kind of increase the valuations in the businesses that are operating the space, improve cash flows, and allow expansion opportunities or product improvements, and et cetera. Deregulation, descheduling, or is it, there's ultimately going to be a regulatory structure at a federal level for cannabis. There's some certain things that need to happen. I think, creating some type of national testing standards would be a big gain for our industry. But then look at the events that are on the horizon. I mean, we're going to most likely see some type of safe banking access, knock on wood. That's going to be huge for the licensed operators. If we see the repeal of 280E and the punitive tax code that's created, is going to boost cash flows and valuations for these companies tremendously. But the one thing that I think is and interstate commerce is going to allow, operational efficiencies for the brands and producer processors, or federal regulation will allow them to create that. And, people will be able to experience, different products from different markets, with much greater ease. The biggest thing that I see happening that's going to be the most exciting thing around cannabis is the development of a true, mature, on-premise consumption market. If you look at the alcohol industry, $200 billion industry in the United States alone, and 48% of the sales are on-premise, that's huge. Wow. Tazo Tea, by the way, was a brand that, very early stage got bought by Starbucks. They were $1 billion brand because of Starbucks, and half of that was on-premise consumption at their retail outlets, and half of it was through the FDM, food, drug, and mass merchants, off the store shelves. So that's going to, more than double the size of our market. And, I don't see on-premise looking like a hookah lounge. I think, we have kind of societally kind of moved away from combustion, smoking, and stuff like that. Trust me, I like smoking flower just as much as anybody else, but I don't think I want to go to a place that's a hot box full of weed smoke as kind of a social outing. I think that the advancement of companies like Viv and Oak making cannabis wine, and Bold, who's making a cannabis iced tea, and the shelf stability and the nano emulsification technology for the quicker uptime. Little Stains is going to be creating a beverage out of Michigan. Cans, a huge success story out of California, now going to be nationally distributed through GTI. And so I think that and Lagunitas, cannabis beer.
Yeah.
So I think that as we're seeing those products evolve, we're starting to see the implementation of social consumption lounges. What does this look like? It can, and I think should, mirror what we do for alcohol consumption on premise, whether it's at a food service restaurant that I can get a cannabis iced tea instead of a Bloody Mary or a beer at lunch, and be able to enjoy that responsibly and comfortably. Probably going to see, some type of distilled, Granddaddy Purple, syrup that somebody can go into a bar and say, I'll take a Granddaddy Purple and Coke, and they can have the beverage of their choice, and there'll be the libations and the concoctions that'll happen on premise, as long as being able to grab a beer out of the, off tap or iced tea. But I think that creating that same, not trying to reinvent the kind of social lubrication model. Cannabis is a very social product, right? Kind of passing the joint with your friends or smoking a bowl with your friends can be a very social, event. But, bringing that kind of full circle to mirror what we already have ingrained in our society around alcohol, I think is going to be a huge win for our industry. And I'm super excited to see that continue to evolve and see some of the products that are coming out in the marketplace. This is the dawn of a new renaissance.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're going to be able to witness that in Vegas. I think that's this MJ, this upcoming event.
Yep.
And I'm from Sonoma, and I know that the up in Lake County and Sonoma County, there's some almost like wine experiences up there you can go enjoy. You do some yoga on site, you consume, you check out where it's grown, you get fully engulfed into the experience. So that's really just phase one.
I just met somebody from Napa, and I was talking to him about cannabis, and he was saying that it's kind of a big challenge up there right now, because they can take an acre of land and generate $1 million worth of cannabis, or they can generate $40,000 worth of wine.
Yeah, the numbers don't add up in support of wine right now. But we'll see how that evolves. And especially, I know that Mexico is going to take a huge stance on cannabis tourism in the coming year. So that's going to be a fun market to watch as well. Yep. Well, we're excited to be joining the first ever MJ Unpacked conference this October in Las Vegas with you and your team. So let's talk about this new B2B conference. How did MJ Unpacked become a reality? And have you always envisioned a hyper-focused B2B cannabis conference?
Yeah, listen, when I ran MJ Biz Daily and MJ BizCon and kind of built that show from 20 tabletops to 1,000+ booth show, that was, 2014 through 2017, maybe even to 2018. Like, people did need to have a POS system, extraction equipment, and discover what those tools and those supplies that they needed to operate their business were super critical, and still will be to some extent moving forward. But, I think that the idea around, going to another show where it's just light bulbs and label makers, row after row, gets a little bit challenging for somebody who is on the front lines operating business, looking at what are those needs. And I always knew, because if you look at every other CPG industry in the United States, it's Natural Products Expo, it's a consumer electronics show, it's a bar and nightclub show. Those shows are brand to retail focused, and cannabis is a CPG industry. So I've always known, and when I was running that show, that there would be a shift in the market at some point. Obviously, I left MJ Biz, and they've continued to kind of create the supply side event along with a lot of the other national shows, because that's really all the market could support. But we think that the time is now that the industry needs a national CPG event. Really where there's an opportunity for brands to showcase their product to a national audience. When we look at what those needs are for the brands that are exhibiting at our show. It's not to meet with, other retailers in their state market. They've already got a sales team out in the field doing that. But what we're doing is creating an opportunity at a much lower cost that's a much better experience because they're not tethered to their booth, that they can display their product at a national level and be able to, engage with people to invest capital. They can meet with retailers from other markets so they can see where they want to bring their product next, start developing those relationships. And they can meet with other brands to partner with to expand their footprint into new states. Those are the things that are kind of keeping them up at night. And I think that we're going to be able to offer a much better solution to that. And again, we're designing our event with like this soft seating, kind of creating the feel of an executive conference. So there's plenty of places for people to sit down and grab a conversation and not feel like you're just kind of, going through another Home Depot or a Costco when you're going to the trade show, but really create an environment that's friendly and inviting. I mean, I look at events from a hospitality standpoint, right? Like we're inviting people into our home, and whether it's a rented home at a venue at the Mandalay Bay, I know how I'd like to be treated and the experience I'd like to have. I don't want to sit on dirty carpet in the lobby of a convention center. I want to be able to sit down in a nice chair, be able to grab a drink and have a conversation, get to know somebody, because that's going to lead to that transactional event. We're bringing a gong into our show. I was super excited. I found a gong. I swear to God, it's called the Flower of Life gong, the sacred healing energy gong that uses 7 concentric circles. So that ties into the marijuana leaf. But we want people to bang the gong when they get a deal done, or they just want to have some, kind of feng shui cleaning energy or whatever. But Bang Chocolate's actually going to be sponsoring our gong. Great branding for them. And we want to do the right thing too. We really wanted to, manifest an event that's going to meet the needs of these people, but we also want to help support the industry as a whole. We are putting the band back together. Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd will be performing live at the House of Blues exclusively for MJ Unpacked attendees as a separated ticket event. And we're charging extra money for that for one reason only, is that we're going to raise a shit ton of money to give to Last Prisoner Project. 100% of the net proceeds are going to go to them. There's far too many people sitting in prison right now for possessing or even dealing pot. I mean, there's as a victim of this crime. I mean, when you're selling weed that somebody needs it, you're providing us a service and a solution. But it's just shameful that, so many lives have been destroyed, and we have a chance and an obligation as an industry to fix that. And so I want to make sure that our company makes that front and center, and LPP has done a great job. No NGO or is perfect. I know that, there's critics of all of them, but they're doing the work and when nobody else was. And I'm happy that we're going to be able to support them in this way. I'm actually honored and privileged.
Well, thank you so much for all your insights and taking the time to meet with us today. It's been a pleasure and great talking with you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you at MJ Impact.
Yep.
So, if there's any other info you'd like to share with our audience, your social media handles, feel free.
Yep. Listen, Guillermo, we're super excited to have you there. And again, when we do have obviously companies like yours, like, that are providing ad tech and marketing tech solutions and stuff, but we're very selective so that 70% of the exhibiting companies are going to be brands. But we know that the brands and retailers need these solutions too. So we do have limited, space for some of those companies. But if you want to learn more about our event, it's mjunpack.com. If you'd like to get a great source of news and insights, we have MJ Brand Insights as our digital publication. Phenomenal team of of writers and a phenomenal managing editor, Felicia Rogers. But we look forward to seeing people in Las Vegas. Certainly the people that qualify for our event. I'm sorry we can't be everything to everybody. We want to be the best thing we can to the groups that we want to serve. And it's time for the future of cannabis.
Yeah, love it. Excited to meet you in Vegas. It's going to be a fantastic event, and have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in a few months here.
All right. Thanks for inviting me for LinkedIn Live lunchtime, lunch break, right?
Always. Thank you, George.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers.